What's up, YouTube? So, in this video, I'm going to be giving my game day report for the Dolphins versus the Saints game. Um, so, before we kind of get into it, one thing I got to kind of talk about is what the Bills just did for us yesterday. The Bills beating the Patriots has a lot of implications. It puts the Dolphins in a situation where we no longer have to wait for any bullshit to happen for us to be able to make the playoffs. We don't have to wait for, this team has to beat this team, that team has to lose, or none of that shit. The Bills beating the Patriots made this really simple to figure out how to make the playoffs. All the Dolphins have to do now is win out. We have to win all three of these games. We have to beat the Saints, the Titans, and the Patriots. That is not a simple task. Those are all very good teams. But mathematically, it's much easier now. So, we have to start with the Saints. We can't look past them. I know they are without a lot of their players due to COVID. But we still have to come out there and smack the Saints in the mouth. We got to beat the shit out of them. So, let's talk about how that can happen. I made videos earlier in the week, like I usually do, scouting the Saints offense and defense, so I gave a lot of my thoughts, and the game plan doesn't change. It's still the same game plan. We're just going to be talking about the differences that have, kind of come up. So, we have Brandon Jones back now. That's huge. Eric Rowe, okay. He'll probably still get some reps. But Brandon Jones next to Javon Holland is different. We have Phillip Lindsay back. We have all our running backs back, actually. And we also have Duke Johnson, who was very good last week. So, who knows? Maybe we can get a bit of a run game going, especially with the Saints being without a solid number of players. We'll get into that in a moment. We'll actually go ahead and do that. That way we can just talk about the Dolphins and then the Saints. So let's kind of get into our own COVID issues, right? Because we have some too. Bowden, Carter, Coleman, Hearns. That all sucks, but it is what it is. We have answers. Carter really doesn't matter. We have all the tight ends in the world. But Justin Coleman does kind of suck. He plays quite a bit of snaps for us, but Byron, X, Nick, and Noah will all be there. So and Trill Williams. So I feel like we're fine as far as corner goes. The one where it gets weird is us being without Greg Mance, Saul McKinley, and Robert Jones. So we no longer have any backups besides Cameron Tom on the entire offensive line. Because Austin Jackson is the backup left tackle, but obviously he's the guard. Same thing with Liam being the backup right tackle, but he's the left tackle. So we only have Cameron Tom as a backup. So I would like to bring up at least one other offensive lineman. Whether that be Keon Smith. Adam Pankey would probably be the best bet. Roderick Johnson. Just somebody. Just to have a little bit more depth. Spencer Pulley, sure. Just to have another offensive lineman as an option. Because having no backup lineman just sounds like a bad idea. I assume we'll have at least one of those guys active. So, yeah. Then we have Duke Riley, who's out, which is fine. Not that big of a deal. Albert Wilson does kind of sting a little bit, right? So our receiving core is, we have Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker, which is great. Those are our number 1 and 2. And let's talk about tight end a little bit. Like I said, Carter's out, but we have Gesicki, Smythe, and Shaheen, so I'm not that concerned. Our running back room is fully functional. Fantastic. But we still have Isaiah Ford, who's been playing pretty well lately. We have Matt Collins, who's really good. We have Tommy Lee Lewis, and I guess we have Preston. Who cares? If they want to bring up a guy, they can. I would recommend Kirk Merritt. I've been trying to get him on the active roster all year. Cody Core could be a guy. Because Tommy Lee Lewis is more of a return man right now. We brought him in because Waddle was out last week. So, that is what that is. Defense really doesn't change a whole lot. Like I said, we are without Brennan Scarlett and Darius Hodge. But Emmanuel Ogbah is basically an edge rusher as well. So, and Landon Roberts can play some edge. So can Vince Beagle. But again, if they wanted to bring somebody up, I suppose they could. We really don't have any, though, to be fair. Yeah, we really don't have any other edge rushers, so it just kind of is what it is at this point. Actually, Sam and Calvin also can play a little bit of edge, so we got guys. As far as our DBs, we basically have everybody. Like I said, we're without Justin Coleman. That's okay. We still have X and Byron as our number 1 and 2. Nick is a really good nickel, so I'm good there. And then Trill Williams and Noah will be our backup, so I feel like that's fine. I'm not really that concerned. So let's kind of take a look at the Saints. They have a lot out. They have it's actually kind of easier to look at it this way, right? Let's start at quarterback. They're without Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian. They both have COVID, and obviously Jameis has been out for the year. So they're going to be starting Ian Book. Do they have another quarterback, like on the practice squad or anything? Just for them to bring up as a backup? They don't. Okay. So it's probably just going to be Ian Book. So I made a video on Ian Book as a draft prospect. Feel free to check that out if you want to. He is a guy who does have some mobility, definitely compared to Taysom Hill. It's not much. It's kind of like more so like Baker Mayfield-esque athleticism level, where, you know, he can scramble for a couple first downs for you sometimes in the right situation. He can buy a little bit of time back there, but it's nothing super deadly or crazy. His arm strength is very average, but he thinks it's a lot better than it is. He is very prone to playing hero ball and making really bad decisions. His accuracy is all over the place. And the big thing is, he does not do well with pressure. When pressure comes his way, he throws a lot of picks and makes a lot of bad decisions. So, my thoughts haven't changed. They still have Alvin Kamara. They still have Mark Ingram. Those are the threats to their offense right now. So what we have to do is simple. We have to crowd the line of scrimmage and make sure that they cannot run the ball successfully, and then tee off on Ian Book. That's what we have to do. It's a very simple game plan. It hasn't changed. That was my idea too, like even with Taysom Hill. And, you know, we were adding in the prospect of trying to keep him in the pocket, and that's still the case with Ian. So this really doesn't change for me. Traquan Smith may or may not play. He's still listed as questionable, so we'll see there. They still have Lil Jordan Humphrey, who's pretty good, Marquez Callaway, Ty Montgomery, who will probably be playing just receiver today, just because they're without a lot of receivers. Kenny Stills, who's still a good player. So they got guys. But I feel like if we can keep Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram at bay, if we can just stop them from running the ball, I feel pretty confident there. Now, they only have one active tight end right now, and that's Nick Vanette. But they do have a guy on their practice squad, I believe. Yeah, Ethan Wolf. They have Ethan Wolf. So don't be surprised if we see him today. I'd probably bring him up just to be another tight end, especially without some of their receivers and stuff like that. Having another tight end would be helpful, and going in with one just doesn't sound like a fun time. Adam might be able to play a little bit of tight end too. We'll see. Armstead, we don't know if he's going to play. He's questionable. James Hurst would be his replacement. They're without both of their backup guards, so don't be shocked if they bring in another guard. Let's see, what do they have as far as that goes? Forrest Lamp, sure. Gerald Hawkins. Will Clapp's a center, but he might be able to. He might be able to play a little bit. Judd Hawkins is a tackle, but he could play guard in a pinch. So, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring some of them up just to have some more options. Now, defense is where things get really messy for them, man. So, obviously, Cameron Jordan's there. He's a really good player. They have some pretty good defensive tackles. Davenport is listed as questionable, and after that, they don't have a single active edge rusher. Peyton Turner and Tano are both on IR. And Carl Granson and Jalen Holmes are both out. So I would try to bring somebody up. They're also without a lot of linebackers. Quan Alexander, Caden Ellis, Demario Davis, they're all out. They have 3 active linebackers to fill a 4-3 defense. Zach Bond, Andrew Dow, and Pete Werner. I have a video on Pete Werner as well coming out of Ohio State. If you want to check that out, go ahead and check that out. He's a pretty solid player. I'm interested to see how he plays today. Don't be surprised if we see some Sheriff Finch today, because he's another linebacker they have on the practice squad. But they really don't have much in the way of edge. They might bring up like Malcolm Roach or something like that, just to have something. Because he's a guy who can play a little bit of defensive end. But that's kind of tough in a 4-3, and because they're without defensive tackle help too. So, like, it's just their starters. They have no backup defensive tackles. So, don't be surprised if you see like Malcolm Roach or Braxton Hoyt or something like that. Just so they have another guy. But Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo are still really good players that we're gonna have to deal with. Bradley Roby's okay. Their corner room is pretty solid. Their safety room, as you can see, is completely wiped out. They're without Malcolm Jenkins, J.T. Gray, and Jeff Heath. So I guess it'd be C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Williams being their starters today, with P.J. Williams as probably the backup for both. They do have some backup DBs, so don't be surprised if they bring some of them up to kind of be a backup safety as well. But man, they are without a lot of players, man. I don't really prefer playing them this way. I mean, we can't do nothing about it. So at the end of the day, we just have to play who they put in front of us. I was looking forward to smacking around Taysom Hill, but we got to play with the cards that we've been dealt. So nothing changes. We still have to, on defense, like I said, keep Alvin Kamara at bay. Keep Mark Ingram from getting going. Just stop that run game consistently and beat the shit out of Ian Book. And then let our DBs take their receivers away. Not much changes in that regard. Now, they're without a lot of defensive line and linebacker help, so we might be able to get some sort of run game going here. Because they cannot really substitute. They can't substitute. So they're going to be... we might be able to really gas them quickly. So we have to take advantage of that. But anyway, I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. If you liked it, I appreciate hitting that like button. If you have any questions or comments in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.